Good Monday evening, Southeast Texas. Welcome to 12 News Plus. I'm Chief Meteorologist Patrick Vaughn, and we're going to take a look at the next 15 minutes. In-depth look at your forecast. Beautiful sunset. This is due to high cloudiness that's moving in from the west. Those usually a cirrus sunrise and a cirrus sunset really make for some beautiful sunrises and sunsets. Otherwise, downtown Beaumont looking at 87 degrees across Southeast Texas. Otherwise, that cloud cover will thicken up coming up later on tonight due to an approaching shortwave is what we call it. It'll make sense of what I'm using as far as jargon in just a minute. It's an upper level disturbance. Otherwise, those passing clouds probably won't bring any rain because the atmosphere is still too dry in the lower and middle levels of the atmosphere. But we'll start to see rising humidity levels later this week, and we ought to be back into the sauna as we head towards late this week with below normal rainfall expected the next 7 days. I don't see a cold front for probably at least 10 days the way it looks right now. So get used to what you're seeing as far as temperatures. As far as your allergy report today, it's all about ragweed and high levels of mold across Southeast Texas. Tree pollen and grass pollen lower compared to what we saw yesterday. But again, it's just ragweed season right now. Very high levels are being measured. So tomorrow we'll go with mainly dry weather conditions. A lot of cloud cover in the morning here in the triangle, then maybe decreasing cloudiness in the afternoon, light east and northeast winds tomorrow. Highs around 90 expected in the triangle. As you can see, I think we'll see more cloud cover than what is shown here. And basically dry weather conditions expected here in the triangle. Similar story up in the lakes area, also about 90. Just a very low chance of us seeing anything the next 7 days, and tomorrow is no exception. Northeast winds expected 2 to 5 miles an hour. Abundant cloud cover in the lakes area in the morning, and then maybe a decrease in decrease in cloud cover coming up tomorrow afternoon. I think it'll be a little bit warmer than what you see there. Otherwise, looking at our high temperature forecast, at least here in the triangle. Normally this time of year we should see about 87 degrees. So as you can see, we're a good, 3, 4, 5 degrees, 2 to 5 degrees above normal through the next 7 days. No cooling really expected. As far as rainfall, this may be wishful thinking on my part, coming up Friday, Sunday, and Monday. Very little chance of rain the way it looks right now. The disturbances that are coming through are pretty weak until we get into maybe Monday, and I'll show you that in just a second. Could trigger off some showers. I don't really expect any thunderstorms. If we see anything, it would be shower activity. So that's what's leading us to see very little rainfall through the next 7 days, as we'll be watching disturbances coming in from the east possibly early next week. As far as your drought monitor, we're at level 1 drought across most of Southeast Texas. That's the first stage. Next stage will be moderate drought, but as you can see, pretty much all of Southeast Texas in need of some rainfall, as we're about 4 inches below normal since September 1st. Otherwise, it's just some high cloudiness coming in from the south and west. That will thicken up coming up later on tonight. Current temperatures on the Pro Roofing Concepts satellite and radar loop are in the mid to upper 80s. And again, this disturbance is probably not going to bring us any rainfall, but you can see it over into West Texas as I grab my pencil. This disturbance creating a few showers over towards New Mexico, and that's the telltale sign of an upper level disturbance that moving through West Texas. A lot of this is not reaching the ground because of the dry air underneath the cloud canopy and that disturbance. This is what we call a short wave. A long wave trough is when you have a trough from Canada to maybe the Four Corners. It's long. This is what we call a small or short wave, and there's the short wave right there in through mainly New Mexico and West Texas. And this is causing the amp up the jet stream, strengthen it, and that's what's causing this high level cloudiness coming in off the Pacific across West Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. That's what's causing it, and you can see the disturbance associated with that, this blob of red in advance of that short wave. Otherwise, that'll come through coming up late tomorrow, but again, this is what we call precipitable water, and this is a variable that we use to track moisture movement. And right now, we just don't see enough to create shower and thunderstorm activity. The real deep moisture is well out into the Gulf at the present time. associated with an area of low pressure there. We'll talk more about that in just a second. But again, very dry air over North Texas, as you can see, and that disturbance will park itself over towards the southeast U.S. and may try to come back from the east. I'll show you that in just a second. There's the trough, the little shortwave. There's 5:50, 6 o'clock tomorrow evening, that disturbance comes through. So with the westerly punch behind it, we may see a decrease in cloud cover coming up late in the day tomorrow. But again, just don't think we're going to see enough to create any shower activity. So as you can see, excuse me, low pressure, it may move off to the east, weaken, and then move back in from the east as we head towards, say, Sunday and Monday. Some of these models are showing the potential for this to come back, or what we call retrograde, off towards the west. This is in the upper levels. This is not tropical. Most of the deep tropical moisture is over towards Florida. But again, this is an upper level disturbance. And again, if we can get it to come back to the west far enough, that may give us maybe a chance of some showers early next week. But usually when you're on the west side of it, you get a northerly wind flow, and that is a sinking air, and that's not real good for creating shower and thunderstorm activity. So keep it at 10% coverage early next week across southeast Texas. In the tropics, well, we're watching Imelda and Umberto, and that's pretty much the main game in town. As you can see, Umberto not looking as good as it did yesterday, and that's because it's starting to see shear impact a storm. And you can see how all the clouds are being blown off Imelda off towards the Carolinas. As you can see, it's right over the Gulf Stream, so it is strengthening, Imelda that is. The winds are at 65 miles an hour. It's probably going to make a minimal hurricane as it's moving to the north at 9 miles an hour. And again, also watching Umberto. I remember Umberto in 2007 struck southeast Texas early in the morning hours. I believe it was in September in 2007 as a Cat 1 hurricane. It was the fastest hurricane ever to develop on record in the Atlantic Basin. Of course, we know what Imelda did in 2019 to Fannett and southwestern Jefferson County. So these names are very familiar to us. Umberto is a Cat 4, but it's not looking like that anymore. I think it could be downgraded because of the appearance on satellite as it's starting to see shear impact the storm. Regardless, Umberto is not going to be an issue for the southeast U.S. coast. Neither will Imelda. Now, late last week, we had a lot of the ensembles trying to bring it into the Carolinas. That's even with ensemble modeling. No model is perfect. Those have all backtracked, now pushing everything off towards the east. One of the reasons that you see flips in model data, kind of like with Rita, you might remember, well, it's going to head over towards Brownsville. Oh no, now it's coming up the coastline. It's because of the measuring process. Remember, there is no or very little weather data being gathered over the waters. Same thing in the Gulf and then off over towards the Atlantic. We don't have weather stations like we do over land. So what do you got to do? Well, that's why we send planes out there, and they drop weather stations to fall through the hurricane. That measures temperature, wind speed, wind direction, and all that good information. That variables go into our model data. We also launch balloons that go up into the atmosphere from a number of sites across the U.S. So that gives you the vertical component as far as the weather data that we need, and then all the weather stations give you on the ground, give you the X and Y coordinate system. So you create a box. So that data is then fed into the computer models, and the computer models then produce the forecast. So the deal is that whenever there is a threat from a hurricane off this, what they start doing is that they start increasing the number of balloon launches. Instead of every 12 hours, they go to every 6 hours. And they also send more planes out there to drop more what we call drop zones, those weather stations that fall from 10,000 feet to the surface of the ocean to gather more weather data, which then goes into our computer models. So the more data, the more times you measure, the better you get. Instead of like a, say on your camera, instead of a 5 megapixel picture, you want a 100 megapixel picture, right? Higher resolution. That's what you want as far as the data. The more data gives you a better picture as to what is going to happen, where these storms are going to where they're going to move. That's what with Rita, they started instead of it going into Brownsville, it moved up the coastline. That's the same thing. They increased the number of launches in the balloons and had better measuring, not just regular hurricane hunters, but the high altitude hurricane hunters went in, and that data helped move the storm up the coastline and improve the track. Unfortunate for us, but anyway, this is why models change, is because of the amount of data is increased to get a better estimate of where this is going on. We are also watching a weak area of low pressure in the west central Gulf. Can you see it spinning right there? I think it's about right there. Some models try to develop it as it heads towards the south or southwest into the Bay of Campeche. This is the Bay of Campeche in the southern Gulf, okay? This is probably going to head south or southwest over the next several days. Some modeling wants to develop it, other models don't. Regardless, it's not coming here with whatever it does. So put that out of your mind. As you can look at the winds, they're out of the southwest. That's going to be the case the next several days. Lots of shear in the northern Gulf. So I think we're fine with that. So as we take a look at our forecast tonight, looking at increasing cloudiness tonight as that disturbance comes in from West Texas. Okay, that's that short wave. So because you have a blanket of cloud cover, you're going to stay warmer, right? We got down to 59, 60, 61 up in the lakes. Not going to happen tonight. Mid to upper 60s is what I'm going with up in the lakes and into the upper 60s and lower 70s triangle. So lots of clouds, a lot less blue coming up to the first half of the day tomorrow. Now as we head towards maybe the afternoon hours, mid to late afternoon hours, start to peel some of those clouds away, and we may see a little more sun tomorrow afternoon with highs close to 90. I don't expect anything significant on radar tomorrow. Speaking of tomorrow, on the Gulf, we're looking at mostly smooth seas in the near shore waters, around a foot with north winds at 5 to 10 knots, only one high tide early in the morning at 1:47 a.m., sunrise 7:07 a.m., sunset at 7:03. So our forecast tonight calls for increasing cloudiness as winds go calm. So we're going to be about 5, 6, 7, 8 degrees warmer up in the lakes here because of those clouds in the low, or I should say mid 60s, and in the triangle, upper 60s to lower 70s are expected for lows in the morning. Then tomorrow we'll see abundant cloud cover the first half of the day. Partly sunny, maybe mostly cloudy the first half of the day. And then as the disturbance passes us, we'll see a decrease in cloud cover in the afternoon. Humidity levels still not going to be terrible tomorrow with highs in the upper 80s to around 90 degrees. Not a bad day, just not as much blue as what we've seen the last several days. So as that disturbance passes us on Wednesday and Thursday, those lows may actually go down a bit. A little bit of drying noted, and lower 90s for highs with partly cloudy skies. Friday, this again may be very wishful thinking. There is some weak disturbances, weak upper level energy coming through, and there may be just enough moisture along the coast to create maybe some isolated showers, kind of a break with some drying noted on Saturday. Then Sunday and Monday, very small chances, light activity if we see any shower activity. A lot more cloud cover expected coming up on Monday. And again, maybe Tuesday we could see a better chance of rain. We certainly need it, but whatever falls is probably not going to end the developing drought. So that's a look at your weather impact